Port Arthur, Tex. On a winding street of older brick homes in the center of town, only one house is without a mountain of debris on the front yard. The house, a two-story at the end of the cul-de-sac, had not been spared by the recent storm, which submerged three-quarters of this coastal industrial city. The homeowner, Derek Ford Freeman, has just not had time to worry about his own affairs. He is the mayor of Port Arthur. Normally the job of mayor is part-time, requiring only one white button-down shirt bearing his name and the city logo. Lately, his mother has been washing that shirt every morning. Mr. Freeman has spent his days racing around the city, lobbying a visiting senator for federal aid one moment, sitting next to a woman sobbing onto his shoulder the next. He has focused on practical matters like restoring trash pickup, reopening schools and finding homes for displaced families. The mayor knows what residents have endured from Hurricane Harvey because he has gone through it himself. But he has set aside his troubles to look after his city's much larger ones. Like many of the people he has comforted, Mr. Freeman is not sure where his family will live when they return to Port Arthur. He does not have flood insurance. In the week after the storm, he, too, was rushing home before sundown in case he had to fend off looters. When the storm moved in on August 30, the mayor was at home, hopping between calls, emails and text messages, when he noticed a shoe floating by. Shortly after, he posted videos of his house flooding on Facebook. "We weren't ready for that," he told his viewers. No one was. Before long, the water had climbed high enough to reach his waist. His wife had already taken their children to Austin. But the mayor had stayed put. In Port Arthur, like many places along the Texas coast, time can be measured in storms, the surges of water during Hurricane Ike, 2008, or the blue roofs. The government provided tarpaulins that covered damaged homes, after Hurricane Rita, 2005. But there was already a sense that this time, it had been battered by something much worse. Nearly a week after the flooding began, parts of the city remained inaccessible. The city's newspaper, the Port Arthur News, had waist-high water in its office, and its editor, whose home and car were flooded, was commuting from a hotel room provided by the Federal Emergency Management Agency that was 60 miles away in Lake Charles, Louisiana. In a church parking lot where a group from Louisiana was handing out meals, one man hugged the mayor with pained look on his face. "We're not doing those somber hugs," Mr. Freeman told him. "We're coming back, baby." The storm struck a city of 55,000 that already had its share of struggles. Port Arthur, like much of the region, has an economy driven by the oil industry, and it has the largest refinery in the United States within its city limits. Even so, unemployment and poverty have been stubborn problems, and the city's busiest streets are checkered with empty lots and run-down buildings. Port Arthur was once bustling, with a robust white middle class and the distinction, in 1973, of being an all-American city, a title awarded for civic innovation. But over time, the white population gravitated toward the cookie-cutter subdivisions that sprouted nearby, taking with them businesses that had been in downtown Port Arthur. The void was filled, in large measure, by a wealth of diversity. The city council is mostly black. A Vietnamese American community flourished after the war. In one corner of the city, there was a Dominican barbershop, a Mexican meat market and a garden outside Queen of Vietnam Catholic Church with a statue of the Virgin Mary rising above nearby houses. Before the storm, Mr. Freeman had ambitious aspirations, diversifying the economy and changing the minds of people who viewed the city as a place to avoid. As he confronts an enormous recovery, he hopes it will spark an infusion of opportunity rather than dashing hopes for change. But the mayor's concerns now are more immediate. More than 100 school teachers and another 100 city employees, he said, did not have homes ready for them to return to. If the city were to spring back, they would need places to stay. As a resident, he understood how difficult it could be to move forward. After all, he had made almost no progress in repairing his waterlogged home. "I'm happy to have a lot of work," he admitted at one point to the police officer assigned to ride around with him. "It keeps my mind off of it." After a visit to a school whose gym had been transformed into a Red Cross shelter, the mayor hopped back in his car, one hand holding the steering wheel, the other a hamburger. Another dignitary, this time a United States senator, had come from out of town. "All right," Mr. Freeman said, laughing, "let's see what my man Ted Cruz has to say." As he drove down streets that, days ago, he had traversed by boat, Mr. Freeman, 41, explained H.